What's up, YouTube people? We are here in beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. Ooh. There we go. And I thought it'd be a good day to make a video. So here we go. How I'm using a bigger mouthpiece, or why? Or maybe just that I am using a bigger mouthpiece on the days off. And here's what's up with that. Alright, so my normal thing here is I got this Jerome Callet Super Chops 2 rim. And this is the mouthpiece that I use for all the time, everything. The Super Chops 2 is like the inner diameter here is like a 10.5, so like in Bach language, like a 10.5C. So a fairly narrow mouthpiece for kind of like an all-around mouthpiece. Now the thing that I was checking out the other day on YouTube, I linked to it on my blog, the last blog post, is this interview with Alex Sipiagins, amazing jazz player. He was talking about a routine that his teacher had him do in Russia that was a pedal tone routine, where they basically start in the middle of the horn and find that aperture set for like your middle C, and then you work down into the pedal range. But one of the other cool points that he talks about is he suggests doing the routine on a large mouthpiece, and the mouthpiece that he actually shows in the video and the mouthpiece that he's using in these particular videos, this interview and this little lesson that I purchased, I think he's using a Bach 1B, which is a pretty massive mouthpiece. I don't know if 1 is the largest or widest rim size, but he says that the value, or that the exercise even becomes more valuable when you do the pedal routine on a very large mouthpiece, because eventually what happens is when you can work your way down to the pedal C while maintaining the same aperture set, then you start to connect that pedal C up, and then you keep going and you keep expanding more and more, first to the pedal C and then back up. So like a 3-octave arpeggio from like a high C down to the pedal C and then back up to the high C, aiming to keep the aperture in basically the same place. And when you can do that on a large mouthpiece, your embouchure is going to get very strong. So I've been doing the routine on the off days. We'll play usually like 3 shows in a row and then have an off day, or 2 shows in a row, have an off day. So on the off days I've been doing the pedal routine, and some days I've done it on the bigger mouthpiece and some days on the smaller mouthpiece. I've noticed that when I do it on the smaller mouthpiece, and this could just be totally coincidental, I don't know. It could be because I'm just new to it in general. But the next show day after doing the pedal routine on the small mouthpiece, I feel to spread. But then on other days, I've been doing it on a larger mouthpiece. So this is not a big mouthpiece by any stretch, but it is bigger than the one I have, and it's the rim from the Super Chops 6. And basically what the Super Chops 6 is the inner diameter is closer to a Bach 7. Okay, and then on the bottom I've got, it's a Bob Reeves 42S69. So this is basically a lead trumpet mouthpiece, but since it is wider than my other mouthpiece, it does feel like more of a workout. So I've been doing the pedal routine then on this bigger mouthpiece, and then I've actually been staying on the larger mouthpiece and doing the rest of my routine, which basically right now is just some scales just to get the tongue and fingers lined up and working together, and the air driving forward and playing in tune and that stuff. But the thing that I do on the larger mouthpiece that's super helpful, and this is one of the things I talk about playing smaller mouthpieces on one of the other YouTube videos, is that I do everything the same on the larger mouthpiece. So the larger mouthpiece will give you more room to kind of like wiggle around in and do stuff with your aperture to try to get different results, whereas the smaller mouthpiece is going to basically shut that down. There's not enough room in the mouthpiece, and when you start moving things around like that, it's basically just gonna screw you up. All the little weird chop stuff we do that doesn't work as well on the smaller mouthpieces. So that's been hugely helpful for me, is learning how to play like low and in the staff and just play with a good sound and do other things besides scream high notes on a tiny mouthpiece, because it makes you super efficient. You have to be efficient to get it to work on the small mouthpiece. So then when I play on the bigger mouthpiece, I'm using that same exact mentality, the same everything. And since the rim is wider, it's actually limiting my range. So when I'm doing the scales, you know, I'm just doing them super comfortable. I'm not trying to get a workout, just whatever I can do, pretty relaxed, and I'm not trying to get a huge sound or anything like that, but just get the pitch out and whatever, working all this. So I'm not able to go as high on this mouthpiece, keeping everything exactly the same, if that makes sense. I could do it if I wanted to work a little harder, but keeping everything exactly the same as I would on the tinier mouthpiece. But doing it on this, I have found, and again, this might be coincidence, but I found that when I do that and then I switch back to the smaller piece, which I'm already comfortable playing pretty much whatever on, it's helping. I feel like I can play like Crazier, like more sass, and there's less danger of me blowing my chops open or spreading my chops or running into playing difficulties from kind of playing with more of that reckless abandon rather than trying to keep everything, you know, like in the little zone where I know I can keep it going for the duration of the show. So it has been helping doing the same kind of stuff on a larger mouthpiece. So if you do play a tiny mouthpiece, then something to think about. Some people switch back and forth like every day, and they'll just, you know, depending on what they have to do. I've seen a lot of guys that just have like 2 mouthpieces. They'll have like a bigger one and then they're more like a lead commercial one, and they can just go back and forth between the two. Or if you just like to use one mouthpiece all the time, you could maybe do a thing where every 3rd day you're doing your typical routine, but you're doing it on a big mouthpiece. Then you're going back to the other thing most of the time because you don't want to lose the feel for that efficiency on the smaller setup. So anyways, a little food for thought there. You know, if that's your bag, I don't know. So anyways, I'm just gonna enjoy the rest of this off day here in Santa Fe, do a little bit of practicing, and I will talk to you later. But first, be sure to swing by BTB and get on the mailing list, because, you know, I got a blog post coming out. I did have huge plans of making like a ton of videos and new free courses and stuff on the road, but, you know, didn't really happen. But there's always today. So I'll talk to you later. Keep up the good work, everybody. Okay, bye-bye.